Hey friends, welcome back to this series of 20 days of Kronos configuration. Today is day number 5 and we are going to learn about how to create break rules in Kronos. The topic for today is connected with the previous 4 days of topic. So if you haven't had a chance to go through the first 4 days of video tutorial, I'll put the playlist link in the description so that you don't miss out on the connected topics. And if you want to learn more about Kronos, please make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell button so that you get notified for my upcoming videos. That being said, let's get started and go straight into the application and see how we can configure break rule. So here we are in the application, and to go to the break rule, expand pay policies from your setup, and under the work rule building block, you have the breaks here. So on Day 4, we've seen core hours and exceptions. Prior to that, we've seen shift guarantee, punch run rules, interval run rules, and all of these are connected to the breaks in some or the other way. So I would recommend you to also watch the other videos, and you can see the link to the playlist in the description as well. So let's go into the break, and we're going to create a new break rule. Before I do that, as I always do, I would like to show you in the time card without the break rule being set up. So a world without break rule. So let me show you what happens if the break rule is not set up and how important the break rule will be for your project. If you are, especially if you're having employees who are hourly employees who punch in and out for the day and also for the meal breaks. So if the break rule is not set up, what are the implications of that in your implementation? So let's assume that this employee is working. I have an employee here whose time card I'm currently on. And let's assume this employee works from 9 to 6. So he comes at 9, and at around 1 p.m. he takes his lunch break and then comes back at around 2 p.m. and leaves for the day at around 6 p.m. So that is 9 to 6 with 1 hour of lunch break. Now, there you go. So you can see his 8 hours of total that he has worked from 9 to 6 with 1 hour of lunch break. So the total is correct, which is 8 hours. But look, under the shift, why do we get to see 4 hours and 4 hours? That means the shift is actually broken. The system is telling that this is first shift with 4 hours and this is the second shift with 4 hours on the same day, which is 21st. And this is not two shifts. 4 hours and 4 hours are actually not two shifts. This is only one shift, but the system now is considering these two, 9 to 1 and 2 to 6, as two different shifts. And that is what exactly happens if your break rule is not set up. Your shift will break, as you can see right here. And based on the shift, if you have different settings like your overtimes or shift allowance, again, all of that will not work. So it is important for you to know what happens if the break rule is not set up. And now that you know what happens in case if you do not set up the break rule, the shift is going to break, and this may have little other repercussions if you have different settings connected with your shifts. With that being said, let's go right into the break rule and set up the break rule, and then again we'll go to the time card and see what difference it has made. So I'm here in the break rule, and you can let me first take you through the different sections of this break rule. So the first thing that you see is the name, and let's give a name, break rule demo. And I can split this break rule section in or break rule building block in 4 different sections. The first one is the break lengths, which you see here, and then you have round and grace, and then you have break settings, and here this section is all about the exceptions. So that is why I was telling that to go through the previous days videos as well, because here in the exception, this is what we've considered in the previous topic on day 4, and round and grace we've seen on day 1. So these are all connected when we go into the break rule. So if you have information on the round and grace and exception, we don't have to spend time on that. You can watch my other videos. But now today we're going to focus mostly on this break length. This is where it is going to determine your the break settings or the break the shift in your schedule, which we saw a while ago, which was broken. So majorly this break length is going to determine how your shift will behave once you set up your break rules. So the most important thing, there are two most important things that you should remember when you're setting up the break rule. One is the normal length and the second one is the max length. So we are going to focus on those two. And if you have any questions, comments, or clarification on what we're going to go through today, please put that down in the comment section. So the normal length, I'm going to put it as 1 hour. What that means is if your organization or the company that you're working with or you're implementing the project, if they have 1 hour of break rule, then just give the normal length as 1 hour. So that's the company policy where you're entitled to take 1 hour of meal break or lunch break in a day. So that's your normal length. So normal length is the 1 hour that I've given, considering the fact that a company policy has a 1 hour of meal break. The second most important thing is the max length. Always remember the max length by thumb rule should be greater than the normal length. So the max length, I'm going to put it as 1 hour and 30 minutes. What max length does is it kind of joins your, or rather prevents the shift from breaking. So here in our earlier demonstration, when I entered the time, you saw the shift was broken, correct? In 9 to 1 4 hours and 2 to 6 another 4 hours. So the max length is going to act like a glue which sticks the shifts or before the lunch break and after the lunch break, whatever the timing that the employee enters or clocks in or punches in, it's going to hold that together so that it doesn't break up. I'm going to put 1 hour and 30 minutes here and I'm going to click on save and return. That is all that you need to do, and go right into your work rule and assign this break rule that you've set up in your work rule so that we can see the difference. So right here, if you scroll down, there is the break rule. I'm going to save this. And now we're going to go back to the time card and see the difference. Okay. So now I'm going to click on save. And there we go. Have you seen the difference? Look under the shift. The daily is still 8 and I haven't made any changes to the shift timings. But look at the shift. Previously, if you remember, it was 4 from 9 to 1 and then 2 to 6 it was 4 again. But now the shift is correct, which is 8 hours. So this is what exactly happens when you have the break rules. So it is very important that you set up the break rule so that your shift and your schedule timings on the time card correctly comes up and there is no discrepancy later on, because anything which is connected to your shifts, for example, your overtimes, if you do not have the proper break rule setting, then employee may not get the correct overtime, or they may get more or they may not get at all, depending on how your other pay related components are set up. Now, another thing that you need to remember is when you're doing the break rules, for example, we've set up the break rule of normal length as 1 hour and the max length as 1 hour 30 minutes. But let me give you another scenario. So let's say this employee has taken a 1 hour break. In this case, what if I make this as 2 hour, 1 hour and 35 minutes? Okay. For some reason, employee went for a break, lunch break. He had to drive out, and then he was stuck while coming, and it took a while for him to return to work and punch in. So he punched in at 2:35. Now look what happens. Did you see something here again? The shift has again broken. So previously it was 8, now it is 4 hours and 3 hours and 25 minutes. Why did this happen? This happened because of the max length. Remember, I told the max length act like a kind of a glue which holds both the punches before you punch out for the day. These two punches will the max length will work like a glue, which will hold them together so that your shift doesn't break. Now, if you go here back to the break rule, look what is your max length. The max length is 1 hour and 30 minutes. However, the employee has taken 1 hour and 35 minutes break. So that means any employee who exceeds 1 hour and 30 minutes, the shift is again going to break. So always remember, make a note of this, that whenever you are setting up a break rule with a max length, make sure you give a max length on a very high, on a higher end. For example, you might give like 4 hours or maybe 5 hours, or try to give on a higher end so that it doesn't break up. So I'm going to click on save now and go back to the time card and click on save here. That is just telling that some config changes were done. There you go. Back to 7 hours and 25 minutes. So now you see the difference what happened when I increased the break rule, right? So that is why it is the most important piece here in the break rule is the max length. The max length will define whether your shift will break, if the employee is taking the lunch break or not. So make sure that you give the right max length amount here. You might have to play around at times when you are doing your implementation projects just to make sure you capture different scenarios and check with your clients if you need to set up on a higher end depending on how much is the length typical break time that the employees take. Now, let me just give you a quick overview of other fields as well. You can get more details on this in my previous tutorials. The round and graze, as you can see, we can do a round and graze for short break, long break. So if an employee is taking a short break, rather than 1 hour, if they take 30 minutes, we can do the rounding on that as well. And we also have exceptions. So if you want to say that anyone who takes more than 1 hour and 1 minute. Anyone who exceeds 1 hour of their break, it will create an exception. So that is what you can do here. If you want to know more about this, you can watch the day 4 tutorial, how to set up the exceptions. So the two things again to remember when you are setting up the break rule is to define the normal length and the max length. Predominantly, more focus should be given on the max length. So that is how you can set up the break rule, friends. I hope you found this tutorial informative. If you do so, if you think so, then please click on that like button. And also, if you have any of your friends who would like to learn more about Kronos, please share this video with them. And also, please subscribe to my channel and leave your comments, any clarifications or any questions about this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and I'll see you again pretty soon. Thank you. Have a great day.